Behind closed doors, the conversation that everyone had been waiting for finally happened. Sophie Cunningham, known for her fiery competitiveness and unfiltered personality, opened up about the rivalries and tensions that have defined her WNBA career in ways fans never imagined. The Phoenix Mercury guard, who has never been one to hold back her emotions on the court, revealed insights into the competitive relationships that go far beyond what cameras capture during games. But what drives such intense feelings between professional athletes who share the same goals and dreams? Which players have created the kind of friction that turns basketball into personal warfare? The revelations about these competitive dynamics could change how fans understand the real emotions and rivalries that fuel women's professional basketball at its highest level. Sophie Cunningham has established herself as one of the WNBA's most intense and passionate competitors since being drafted by the Phoenix Mercury in 2019. Standing 6'1" and playing primarily as a shooting guard and forward, she has built her reputation on aggressive defense, clutch shooting, and an emotional intensity that sets her apart from many players. Throughout her WNBA career, Cunningham has averaged 4 points, 8 rebounds and 7 assists per game while shooting 37.2% from three-point range. Her statistical contributions represent solid role-player production, but her impact extends far beyond numbers to include leadership, energy, and competitive fire that affects entire team dynamics. Cunningham's playing style is characterized by physical defense, emotional celebrations, and confrontational moments with opponents that have made her both a fan favorite and a polarizing figure throughout the league. Her willingness to engage in trash talk and physical play has created memorable moments and ongoing rivalries. The Missouri native played college basketball at the University of Missouri, where she was known for similar competitive intensity and leadership qualities. Her transition to professional basketball maintained these characteristics while adapting to the higher skill level and more physical play of the WNBA. Sports analysts note that players like Cunningham serve crucial roles in team chemistry and competitive culture, bringing energy and emotion that can elevate teammates while also creating friction with opponents who may not appreciate her aggressive approach to competition. Professional basketball, including the WNBA, features intense competitive relationships between players who battle against each other regularly throughout seasons and playoff series. These competitive dynamics often create lasting impressions and rivalries that extend beyond individual games. The WNBA structure with only 12 teams and relatively small rosters means that players face the same opponents multiple times per season, creating opportunities for competitive tensions to develop and intensify over time. Repeated matchups can amplify both respect and animosity between competitors. Competitive rivalries in women's basketball often develop from contrasting playing styles, personality conflicts, or memorable confrontations during crucial games. These dynamics are natural aspects of high athletic competition where emotions run high and competitive pride is constantly tested. Players with intense personalities like Cunningham often develop stronger positive and negative reactions to opponents as their emotional investment in competition creates more pronounced feelings about teammates and rivals throughout their careers. Questions arise about how these competitive relationships affect game preparation, on-court performance, and team dynamics when players must channel personal feelings into professional basketball excellence while maintaining league standards for conduct and sportsmanship. The Phoenix Mercury have historically been one of the WNBA's most successful franchises, winning championships in 2007, 2009, and 2014. While maintaining competitive rosters built around star players and strong supporting casts that include players like Cunningham, Cunningham's role within the Mercury organization has evolved from rookie contributor to veteran leader who provides energy, defense, and emotional leadership that complements the skills of star players like Brittany Gurrier and Diana Taurasi during their time together. The team's competitive culture emphasizes aggressive play, emotional intensity, and championship-level expectations that align with Cunningham's natural playing style and personality. This organizational fit has allowed her to thrive while potentially creating friction with opponents who face the Mercury's aggressive approach. Mercury head coach Vanessa Nygaard has praised Cunningham's leadership and competitive fire, noting how her intensity and emotional investment in team success contribute to the franchise's culture and on-court performance during crucial moments. Sports psychologists observe that teams benefit from having players who bring emotional energy and competitive edge, though these same qualities can create challenges when channeling intensity appropriately and maintaining professional relationships with opponents throughout the league. Throughout her WNBA career, Sophie Cunningham has been involved in numerous competitive incidents and confrontational moments that have defined her reputation and potentially influenced her relationships with specific opponents across the league. One of the most notable incidents occurred during a 2021 playoff game against the Las Vegas Aces when Cunningham was involved in a physical altercation that resulted in technical fouls and heightened tensions between the teams. Such moments often create lasting impressions and ongoing competitive animosity. Her aggressive defensive style and willingness to engage in physical play have led to multiple flagrant fouls and technical fouls throughout her career, demonstrating her commitment to competitive intensity, while sometimes crossing lines that create friction with opponents and officials. Cunningham's emotional reactions to both positive and negative moments during games have become signature aspects of her playing style, including celebrations that some opponents may view as excessive or disrespectful during competitive situations. The accumulation of competitive incidents over multiple seasons naturally creates relationships where certain opponents represent particular challenges or sources of frustration, leading to the kind of competitive feelings that define athletic rivalries at professional levels. Sports psychology research reveals that elite athletes often develop strong emotional reactions to opponents based on competitive experiences, personality conflicts, and contrasting approaches to athletic competition. These feelings represent normal aspects of high athletic participation. The intense competitive environment of professional basketball creates situations where personality differences become amplified through repeated confrontations, physical play, and high-stakes games that test athletes' emotional control and competitive resolve. Athletes like Cunningham, who compete with high emotional intensity, often experience more pronounced positive and negative reactions to opponents. This emotional investment in competition can enhance performance while also creating stronger interpersonal dynamics with rivals. Competitive dislike in professional sports often stems from specific incidents, perceived disrespect, or fundamental differences in competitive approach rather than personal animosity unrelated to athletic competition. These feelings can actually enhance competitive performance by providing additional motivation. Questions arise about how professional athletes manage these competitive emotions while maintaining appropriate conduct and sportsmanship standards that preserve the integrity of professional basketball competition and league-wide professional relationships. The WNBA's relatively small player pool means that athletes must navigate complex relationships with opponents who may also be teammates in international competition, off-season training, or all-star events. These overlapping relationships create unique dynamics not found in larger professional leagues. Many WNBA players maintain friendships and professional respect with opponents despite intense competitive rivalries during games. The ability to separate competitive feelings from personal relationships represents an important skill for professional athletes in smaller leagues. Social media and public interactions provide glimpses into how players manage competitive relationships, with some maintaining friendly interactions off the court, while others prefer to limit contact with certain opponents outside of required professional settings. The league's emphasis on professionalism and sportsmanship creates expectations for how players should handle competitive tensions, though individual personalities and competitive styles naturally create varying approaches to managing these relationships. Sports analysts note that competitive rivalries can actually benefit the WNBA by creating compelling storylines and emotional investment that enhance fan interest while also pushing players to elevated performance levels during important games. Media coverage of WNBA rivalries and competitive tensions often focuses on dramatic moments and confrontational incidents that may not represent the full scope of player relationships or the professional respect that exists between competitors. Sophie Cunningham's reputation for intensity and emotional play makes her a frequent subject of media analysis regarding competitive relationships and on-court incidents. This coverage can amplify perceptions of rivalries beyond their actual significance to the players involved. Social media amplifies competitive moments and creates public narratives around player relationships that may exceed the actual feelings or importance that players place on specific rivalries or competitive interactions. The increased media attention on women's basketball has brought more scrutiny to player relationships and competitive dynamics, creating situations where every interaction becomes subject to analysis and interpretation by fans and media personalities. Questions arise about how media coverage affects player relationships and whether public discussion of competitive tensions influences how athletes approach rivalries and manage their public personas while maintaining competitive authenticity. Teams with players who bring emotional intensity and competitive fire often benefit from enhanced energy levels and motivation during crucial games. Though managing these emotions requires careful coaching and team leadership to channel them productively. Cunningham's competitive intensity has contributed to Phoenix Mercury's success in playoff situations where emotional investment and aggressive play can provide advantages over opponents who may not match their intensity levels during high-pressure moments. The presence of emotionally invested players can elevate teammates' performance by creating an atmosphere of heightened focus and competitive urgency that spreads throughout entire rosters during important games and playoff series. However, competitive intensity must be balanced with strategic discipline and emotional control to avoid technical fouls, flagrant fouls, or other consequences that could hurt team performance despite good intentions and competitive commitment. Coaches must help players like Cunningham channel their competitive emotions effectively while maintaining the aggressive approach and emotional investment that make them valuable contributors to team success and competitive culture. The WNBA has featured numerous memorable rivalries throughout its history, including team-based rivalries like Los Angeles Sparks vs. Sacramento Monarchs and individual competitive relationships that have enhanced league storylines and fan engagement over multiple seasons. Classic rivalries between players like Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi or Lauren Jackson and Candace Parker demonstrate how competitive relationships can evolve over careers while maintaining mutual respect and professionalism despite intense on-court battles. The league's history includes various confrontational moments and competitive incidents that have created lasting rivalries, though most have been resolved professionally or evolved into respectful competitive relationships over time. Contemporary rivalries involving players like Cunningham represent continuation of competitive traditions that have always existed in professional basketball. Though modern media coverage and social media create different dynamics for how these relationships are perceived and discussed, understanding historical context helps evaluate current competitive relationships within the broader framework of professional basketball culture and the normal evolution of athletic rivalries throughout competitive careers. Elite athletes often use competitive feelings and rivalries as motivation for enhanced performance, training intensity, and focus during preparation for games against specific opponents who represent particular challenges or competitive significance. Cunningham's emotional investment in competition and strong reactions to certain opponents likely serve as motivational tools that enhance her preparation and performance during games against players or teams that represent special competitive significance. Sports psychology research indicates that emotional investment in competition, including negative feelings toward opponents, can enhance athletic performance by providing additional motivation and focus during crucial competitive moments. The key for professional athletes is channeling competitive emotions productively while maintaining appropriate conduct and avoiding actions that could result in disciplinary consequences or damage to professional relationships beyond the competitive arena. Athletes who compete with high emotional intensity often need specific strategies for managing their competitive feelings while preserving the passion and investment that make them effective competitors at professional levels. Social media has fundamentally changed how athletic rivalries develop and are perceived, providing platforms for athletes to express opinions and reactions that were previously private or limited to immediate team and family circles. Modern athletes must navigate the balance between authentic expression of competitive feelings and maintaining professional images that preserve endorsement opportunities and league relationships while satisfying fan expectations for personality and authenticity. The entertainment value of athletic competition includes the personal dynamics and competitive relationships between players, making personalities like Cunningham valuable for league growth and commercial success. However, athletes must consider how competitive expressions and public statements about rivalries might affect their professional relationships and opportunities within the relatively small WNBA community, where career longevity depends partly on maintaining professional networks. Many WNBA players compete together in international leagues during the off-season, creating opportunities for competitive rivals to develop different relationships outside the domestic league context where their rivalries initially developed. These international experiences can provide perspective on competitive relationships and opportunities for rivals to develop mutual respect or understanding that might not emerge through WNBA competition alone. The global nature of women's basketball means that players often encounter opponents in various competitive contexts throughout their careers, potentially moderating the intensity of specific rivalries while maintaining competitive respect. Athletes like Cunningham may find that international competition provides different perspectives on competitive relationships and helps develop more nuanced understanding of opponents who initially seemed particularly challenging or frustrating. The evolution of competitive relationships throughout careers often includes phases where intense rivalries develop into professional respect or even friendship as athletes gain experience and perspective on the broader context of their competitive careers. As athletes progress through their careers, competitive relationships often evolve from intense emotional reactions to more mature understanding of opponents' competitive approaches and the professional respect that develops through repeated high competition. Sophie Cunningham's career trajectory may include continued evolution of her competitive relationships as she gains experience and perspective on the balance between emotional investment and professional relationship management within the WNBA community. The natural maturation process for competitive athletes often includes learning to channel intensity more effectively while maintaining the passion and emotional investment that make them effective competitors and valuable teammates. Veteran players often develop more sophisticated approaches to competitive relationships that preserve their competitive edge while building professional networks and maintaining positive relationships throughout the league community. The long-term success of athletes with intense competitive personalities often depends on their ability to evolve their approach to rivalries while preserving the qualities that make them effective competitors and valuable contributors to team success. The competitive intensity and personal investment that characterize players like Sophie Cunningham represent positive aspects of women's basketball that demonstrate the passion and commitment that drive elite athletic performance at professional levels. Understanding competitive relationships within the context of professional basketball culture helps fans appreciate the emotional investment and personal commitment that athletes bring to their careers while maintaining appropriate boundaries for conduct and sportsmanship. The WNBA benefits from having players with strong personalities and competitive intensity, as these characteristics contribute to the entertainment value and emotional engagement that attract fans and maintain interest throughout seasons and playoff competition. The evolution of women's professional basketball includes embracing the authentic personalities and competitive emotions that make the sport compelling while maintaining professional standards that preserve the integrity and positive culture of the league. Sports analysts note that competitive rivalries and strong personalities contribute to the growth and commercial success of women's basketball by creating storylines and emotional investment that enhance fan engagement and media coverage of the sport. If you're as fascinated by the competitive dynamics of women's basketball as we are, go ahead and like this video. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Which WNBA players do you think have the most intense competitive relationships? Do you believe emotional intensity helps or hurts team performance in professional basketball? We want to hear your perspective on how rivalries and competitive personalities shape the WNBA. Then hit subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss our coverage of the competitive stories that make women's basketball so compelling.